What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video, giving you guys the newest news and rumors on your Toronto Maple Leafs. If you guys are new here, make sure to like this video and subscribe. I've got a lot of great Leafs content on the way for you guys this offseason, as well as there's already some stuff on the channel right now. So make sure to like this video and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. But today, we've got a lot to talk about today on the June 20th edition of this video. Now, the Maple Leafs have some buyout candidates. Now, whether or not they're real or not, and whether or not there's any truth to them, we're going to go over it. Is it going to be Matt Murray? That's been something that's been discussed before, but this is something definitely that we need to look into for multiple players on the team. And like I said, there were some rumors for another player that almost doesn't make any sense. But going into this offseason, the Leafs do have a little bit of money to play with. Now, it's going to be around the $14 million area when it comes to the money that they can actually utilize. But we're all expecting that Jake Muzzin is probably going to stay on LTIR, which again, that does give you that extra little bit of money. So that's why it's at $14 million, 14.7. And then there's the talk of the buyouts. Now, the biggest one that's been spoken about is Matt Murray, and we'll get to that in a second. But I want to bring you guys something that's been kind of making its rounds around the internet, and it's right here. And there's a sneaky couple buyouts out there, and one that I have in the back of my mind is TJ Brody of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is from Frank Saravelli on Daily Faceoff. It's a $0 cap charge for this upcoming season if you were to buy out Brody out of the last year of his deal. 2 seasons from now, it would be $2.5 million in a cap charge. And with the cap going up $7 or $8 million in a couple years, theoretically, if you move off of Brody's $5 million and have a $0 cap charge, you get more money to play with. But first of all, it's been pretty much confirmed that the Leafs have no interest in doing this. So the reason I'm saying this in this video is because there's a lot of people that don't follow Twitter as religiously as I do when it comes to the Leafs news and stuff like that. But it's been basically reported that that's not true, that the Leafs are not interested in buying out TJ Brody. But to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about what Frank was trying to say here was, for this season and next season, the Leafs would not have to pay TJ Brody any money, because the last year of his deal is this upcoming season. $5 million, you buy him out. It would cost you $0 on the cap this year, 0 next year, but then it would cost you $2.5 million on the cap the following season. And to that, I just say it doesn't make a lot of sense, because I'm not really sure what numbers or whatever that people are looking at when it comes to TJ Brody, but he might have had some rough moments in the playoffs, but this guy has been solid as a rock since coming to Toronto, and the numbers back it up. The eye test backs it up. I'm not really sure what the TJ Brody hate and where it's coming from, how this makes any sense. But if you were just in it to save money, sure, but teams would be willing to trade for TJ Brody. This makes absolutely no sense. And the Leafs need a top 4 defenseman that gives you a bunch of minutes, that plays really well defensively. I just think this year he got overworked. They brought in McCabe, and he was another guy that can play defensively. But by then, it's you don't get enough chemistry with some of these guys. So I think, honestly, that TJ Brody was severely overworked, and that's probably the reason why maybe he fell a little bit. But again, nothing to the point where it hurt him in terms of his value and anything like that, because he is still a fantastic defenseman, and the Leafs are going to need him for this upcoming season. Now, the next one is Matt Murray. Now, this one is a little bit tough, because there's upside and downside to this, but I think that if it saves the Leafs from having to spend another draft pick to remove cap space, then I would probably do it. Now, this is what it would look like. For the 23-24 season, his cap hit would only be $687,000 against the cap, which would be a $4 million worth of savings. Now, the following season would be a $2 million cap hit, which doesn't really help. And the reason why I say that is because that's the season that the Leafs need to pay for Austin Matthews and William Nylander. If, in fact, they are going to stay, it's looking like at least one of them, being Austin Matthews, will be re-signing very soon. But again, you have to have that money ready and available to you whenever the Leafs need to make a move. And if you're basically guaranteeing $2 million on the cap for the following season for a guy that's not even on the team, it's obviously going to hurt you a little bit. But if we're looking at this season specifically, if let's just say we buy out Matt Murray, right? That brings you up to $18 million. Like you're almost pushing $19 million in cap space, which again, the Leafs have 6 defensemen, but I'm sure they're going to upgrade there. And then it gives you a chance to play with some of these numbers here. I do believe Nick Robertson, if he isn't traded, I do believe he should and probably will have a spot on this team. And as you see, that doesn't affect the cap space because he's already on the team, just on the injured reserve. So you have to fill out 4 spots, and you're ultimately probably going to bring back Samsonov as another goalie, and then you can address this defense. But I will be making a video on how I think the Leafs will allocate their money. But I do believe via trade and free agency that this Leafs team can get better, even if they keep all 4 of the core 4, which sounds crazy to say because obviously you're going to get worse if you trade one of those guys and don't address it with a good player or 2 good players. But if let's just say in this hypothetical world that the Leafs just hold on to these 4 guys, then there is ways for this team to get better. And again, that could all change depending on if they do trade one of these guys. But, I'd like the Leafs to hold on to Luke Schenn for the right amount. I'd like to hold on to Noel Acciari for the right amount. And if you shed $4 million in a buyout, I mean, that should be able to afford you both of those guys with absolute ease. There shouldn't be any more than $4 million for both of those players. So I think that would be a good trade-off. You buy out Matt Murray and you re-sign Luke Schenn and you re-sign Noel Acciari, and then maybe you dip into a little bit of that money and spend a little bit more of it to re-sign Ilya Samsonov, and then you move from there to bring in top 6 talent or a top 4 defenseman because they will have the money, and they wouldn't have traded that first-round pick to remove Matt Murray's salary, which we had to do before with Peter Mrazek, and we've had to do it before with Patrick Marleau. So it's just something that I don't want the Leafs to do this time around. I'd rather them just maybe do a buyout and hope that they can sign Austin Matthews and William Nylander, and that money won't hurt them too much. Because, listen, we don't want to see the Leafs get caught in cap trouble going forward. It's just super annoying. I'm not a big fan of it. But the Leafs have to be looking at this and thinking, yeah, a buyout makes sense, but only for Matt Murray. I just don't understand why the TJ Brody thing was even a conversation. When I seen people talking about it online and them thinking, oh, yeah, this makes sense. It makes absolutely no sense. There is absolutely no reason for the Toronto Maple Leafs to buy out TJ Brody. There's no reason for them to trade him either unless they're getting substantially better and have a good option for a return. If you remove TJ Brody, you're removing 25 minutes of solid defense in that top 4, and you have to make it to the playoffs to perform in the playoffs. And if they don't make it to the playoffs, it's probably going to be because they make dumb moves like buying out a TJ Brody. So again, I just think that I needed to give my piece on a couple of these buyout candidates, especially one of them being ridiculous and the other one actually maybe having some truth behind it. There have been some rumors that the Leafs will be buying out Matt Murray in the next few days. But again, I'm not just going to come out here and say that I have sources or anything because I haven't heard that from any source that I have. And, it's just from publications just thinking that it's around the corner. But again, no truth to any buyout yet. We'll have to see once there's official news of it, but a couple teams have already started making some moves, like Arizona. I think they just bought out Zach Cassian and they bought out somebody else, but it's happening. Teams are trying to buy out some players, so let's see if the Leafs end up doing it. If you guys are new here, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Join the squad. I'd love to have you guys here. Like I said, make sure to stick around for more content. Lots of videos on the way. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the YouTube short that I posted yesterday. I'm going to be doing more of those so that way you guys have more content. Because ultimately that's what I want to do. And like I said, I know there's a ton of you guys out there that are watching that aren't subscribed. Liking and subscribing helps a ton. And yeah, hopefully you guys want to stick around for more videos and more content. Peace.